Hello class and welcome to our discussion on literature. Today we're going to take a closer look at this subject, exploring what it is, its different types, and its important roles as a reflection of society and a force for change. Our goal is to see how literature isn't just a record of human life, but something that can actively change things and inspire social progress. Let's begin. Part 1. The nature of literature, definition, form, and function. The essence of literature beyond just writing. When we talk about literature, what do we really mean? The term is often used very broadly to mean any written work. But a better way to think about it is as an art form, things like novels, plays, and poems. This is what makes it different from simple, factual texts like a cookbook or a travel guide, which primarily serve to provide facts. The main goal of artistic literature is to share ideas that are important and last a long time, focusing on creative expression instead of just giving information. This dual nature of the term is a fundamental concept. It highlights that while any written material can be broadly classified as literature, the term often carries a qualitative dimension, implying a focus on aesthetic quality and creative expression beyond simple information transfer. This distinction is crucial for understanding how different texts function and how they are approached critically, framing the way readers engage with various forms of written expression, recognizing that some aim for practical utility while others strive for deeper artistic and intellectual engagement. The very word literature has a rich history, stemming from the Latin literatura, meaning learning or writing with letters. Over centuries, this definition has evolved, expanding to include oral literature, much of which has since been written down. This broader embrace of oral traditions signifies a move towards more inclusive notions. Contemporary cultural studies now consider popular and minority genres alongside traditionally canonical works. This historical evolution reveals that the concept of literature is not static. Its boundaries are fluid and continually influenced by societal and cultural shifts. The definition itself is a cultural construct, reflecting changing values and the evolving technologies of communication over time. As an art form, literature involves the careful choice and arrangement of words by writers. It is an organization of words that gives pleasure, yet its purpose extends beyond mere enjoyment, aiming to elevate and transform human experience. This emphasis on careful craftsmanship and intentional design distinguishes literary art from everyday communication or purely informational writing, inviting readers to engage with the text on multiple levels, seeking meanings and appreciating artistic choices that extend beyond the literal surface. The diverse forms of written expression. Literature can be broadly categorized into two main forms: poetry and prose. Poetry, or verse, is characterized by its structure in lines, which are carefully arranged according to patterns of sound, rhythm, and meaning, and which may or may not employ rhyme. Prose, in contrast, uses language that closely resembles everyday speech. This category is very broad, encompassing novels, short stories, and most modern dramas. Within prose, there are two primary types: fiction, which encompasses narratives that are largely imaginative or made up, and non-fiction, which discusses facts or ideas about real events and people. Examples of non-fiction include histories, biographies, essays, and speeches, and many are considered great literature. Modern literary developments, such as free verse and prose poetry, have increasingly blurred the traditional distinctions between poetry and prose. The existence of verse novels, which tell a novel-length narrative through poetry, further exemplifies this fluidity. This adaptability reflects literature's continuous evolution, where rigid classification becomes less important than understanding the artistic choices and effects within a given text. The blurring of these lines is not a failure of classification, but a testament to literature's evolving purpose. It reflects a shift in literary priorities, where the form adapts to best serve the narrative or artistic intention rather than the other way around. This movement away from formalist aesthetics places greater emphasis on the content, message, and emotional impact of the work, regardless of its structure, demonstrating that contemporary literary culture prioritizes expressive power and innovation over strict adherence to established conventions. The enduring purposes of storytelling. The history of literature is deeply intertwined with the evolution of human communication, long predating written forms. Storytelling is an innate human activity, fundamental to culture and the sharing of experiences, and the core functions of literature, preserving knowledge, providing entertainment, and fulfilling a social role, existed even before the advent of writing. Literature serves a multitude of fundamental purposes that extend beyond mere storytelling. One of its primary functions is the recording, preservation, and transmission of knowledge. Through literary works, readers are introduced to historical events, scientific discoveries, philosophical debates, and complex societal issues. Beyond this informational role, literature is also a significant source of entertainment, offering pleasure and enjoyment through engaging narratives. A central purpose is to communicate ideas of lasting interest, concepts, and themes that resonate across generations and remain relevant over time. Furthermore, literature excels at exploring the breadth of human experience, vividly capturing the essence of human emotions, struggles, and triumphs. By immersing themselves in narratives, readers are transported into the lives of characters, experiencing their joys and sorrows, and gaining perspectives from diverse backgrounds. This immersive quality positions literature as a moral laboratory. It is not merely a passive reflection of human experience, but an active tool for practicing and developing an understanding of human motivations and moral dilemmas in a safe, detached environment. Readers engage in fictional thought experiments, imagining themselves in a character's shoes. This process creates a causal link between absorbing a narrative and developing empathic imagination, suggesting that literature is an active cognitive training ground that helps individuals broaden their consciousness and develop a deeper understanding of fellow human beings. The concepts of literature as a moral laboratory and cognitive training ground are not simply metaphorical. They point to a tangible neurological component. The act of role-taking and creating mental models of a fictional world exercises the same neural pathways used to understand real-world human behavior. This moves the argument for literature's importance from a purely cultural one to a scientific one, positioning it as a vital part of cognitive and emotional development. Engaging with literary art demands active participation from the reader. Authors often thrive on ambiguity and gaps within the narrative, compelling readers to make inferences and actively construct meaning. This co-creative process enhances cognitive and emotional intelligence and moves beyond a simple transmission of ideas to a more dynamic, interactive purpose, where the reader becomes an integral part of the literary experience. Part 2. The interplay of literature and society. A reflective and corrective mirror. Literature as a reflection of society. Literature is widely recognized as a profound reflection of society, acting as a mirror that reveals both its virtues and its flaws. It offers a vivid portrayal of what people think, say, and do within a given societal context. It is virtually impossible to find a work of literature that is entirely detached from the attitudes, morale, and values of the society in which it was created, as every writer is shaped by their surrounding world. This makes literature an invaluable sociological and historical document, providing unfiltered access to the collective consciousness and lived experiences of a particular era, even when presented as pure fiction. Authors act as interpreters and translators of reality, taking real-life events, attitudes, and values from their society and transforming them into fictional narratives. These narratives are then presented back to society, serving as a mirror through which individuals can examine themselves and recognize the need for positive change. Stories effectively freeze moments in history, capturing the very pulse of their era, from prevailing laws to daily routines. Literary works consistently reflected the values, norms, and attitudes prevalent during specific historical periods, providing a snapshot of their cultural, social, and economic context. The consistent portrayal of societal issues across different literary works and eras suggests that literature functions as a sensitive barometer for societal health and prevailing anxieties. For instance, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice meticulously explores the social stratification of 9th century England. Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist vividly exposes the harsh realities of poverty and exploitation in Victorian England, while F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby critiques the excessive materialism and moral decay of the Roaring Twenties. Literature also extensively portrays gender roles and expectations, with many novels exploring and challenging traditional norms, and provides incisive religious and political commentary. The ability of literature to signal underlying social tensions or emerging issues before they become widely recognized elevates it from a passive mirror to an active barometer. This suggests that writers, by virtue of their sensitivity to the human condition, may be the first to articulate societal anxieties that are not yet quantifiable, and that studying the dominant themes in contemporary literature could provide early signals of future social movements. Interpreting literature through cultural lenses. Understanding literature requires an appreciation of the cultural lenses through which it is created and interpreted. Culture, defined as a complex system of shared beliefs, values, and customs, profoundly shapes how individuals perceive the world and interpret messages. These deeply ingrained cultural elements inevitably permeate literary works. For instance, individualistic cultures often prioritize personal freedom and achievement, while collectivistic cultures emphasize group harmony and loyalty. A significant barrier to effective cross-cultural understanding is ethnocentrism, the tendency to view one's own culture as superior or as the universal standard. This perspective can lead to the dismissal or misinterpretation of differing communication practices and beliefs. A literary work, being a form of communication, is deeply embedded in the author's and the original audience's cultural context. Consequently, a reader's own cultural background and potential ethnocentric tendencies will inevitably influence their interpretation. To truly understand literature, one must engage with it through cultural lenses, requiring self-awareness and a conscious effort to suspend one's own cultural biases. This approach is essential for grasping the intended meanings and nuances of the text, fostering cultural safety in interpretation. This relationship is reciprocal. Not only does culture shape literature, but literature also shapes culture by reinforcing or challenging existing beliefs and introducing new values. The very act of a society embracing a text as great literature is a cultural act of self-definition. The study of literature is, therefore, a study of a culture's conversation with itself, both reflecting and shaping its identity. This suggests that the study of literature is a crucial mechanism for cross-cultural understanding, directly combating ethnocentrism by engaging with the worldview of another culture. History weaves, through text, landmark events and their literary legacy. Major historical events exert a profound influence on the literary themes, styles, and concerns that emerge during any given period. Authors are deeply shaped by their surroundings and the prevailing zeitgeist or spirit of their time. This consistent interplay between historical events and literary output highlights that literature is not just a passive mirror, but an active interpreter of history, providing a more nuanced and emotionally resonant understanding of historical contexts than purely factual accounts. The Industrial Revolution, for instance, led to a vibrant literary movement. Writers meticulously documented the seismic shift from rural agrarian life to urban industrial centers, exploring the profound human cost of rapid industrialization and technological advancement. Their works often critiqued harsh labor conditions, environmental concerns, and widening class disparities. Literary movements like realism and naturalism emerged as direct responses, employing descriptive detail to portray life authentically. Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist starkly depicted the pervasive poverty in London, contributing to calls for social reform. The World Wars also left an indelible mark on literature. The trauma and widespread disillusionment stemming from World War I contributed directly to the development of new modernist themes such as existentialism and absurdism. Authors of this period experimented with innovative narrative techniques, including non-linear structures and fragmented narratives, to reflect the profound chaos and psychological impact of the war experience. Ernest Hemingway's sparse, direct prose and Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway are prime examples of this post-World War I disillusionment. The civil rights movement in the United States represents another pivotal period significantly represented in literature. Works from this era powerfully reflect the struggles and aspirations of African Americans for equality and justice. literature served as a crucial voice for the movement, with influential works such as Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man and Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, profoundly illuminating African American experiences, capturing their resilience and aspirations, and inspiring active participation in the fight for racial equality. Literature does not just react to history, it helps create it. Works from these periods not only reflected the events, but also contributed to calls for social reform and inspired active participation, revealing a recursive loop where history creates the conditions for literature, which in turn influences the course of subsequent historical events. This makes literature an active participant in history, and a full understanding of history requires an understanding of its literary context. Part 3. The transformative power of narrative. Literature as a catalyst for change. The corrective mirror. Literature as a force for social transformation. Literature's role extends far beyond merely reflecting society. It actively serves as a corrective mirror. It possesses the unique capacity to inspire change and contribute significantly to the collective growth and evolution of society. By challenging and questioning established beliefs and societal norms, literature can act as a powerful catalyst for transformation. A compelling narrative has the power to shift public perception on complex issues such as race or social class, and historically, books have influenced laws and public opinion on a wide range of issues. For example, Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, 852, is widely credited with fueling the abolitionist movement in the United States due to its vivid depiction of slavery's brutality. Similarly, Upton Sinclair's The Jungle 906 exposed the harsh conditions in the meatpacking industry, leading directly to significant reforms. More recently, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring 962 brought critical attention to the detrimental effects of pesticides, effectively launching the modern environmental movement and contributing to the banning of DDT. Literature also plays a crucial role in amplifying marginalized voices, shedding light on the struggles and experiences of communities often overlooked in mainstream discourse. Its reformative power lies in its ability to challenge dominant narratives, functioning as a space for dissent, critique, and the articulation of alternative perspectives that might otherwise be suppressed. This makes literature a crucial component of social justice movements, providing the emotional and intellectual groundwork for collective action by exposing uncomfortable truths and humanizing those affected by injustice. The research notes that literature can spark discussions and galvanize support for reform, pointing to a crucial causal link between literary engagement and real-world social movements. The specific causal mechanism is the creation of a shared emotional and intellectual foundation. A legislative proposal is a dry, factual document, but a novel like The Jungle makes the issues visceral and personal. By creating a collective emotional response and a shared understanding of the problem, the novel primes a population for political action. This explains why books can be so powerful where policy papers might fail. They don't just inform, they create a moral imperative for change. The psychological mechanism of empathy. A key mechanism through which literature drives social change is its profound ability to foster empathy and understanding. Literary works transport readers to different times, places, and cultures, allowing them to experience the world through the eyes of diverse characters. This immersive quality is instrumental in breaking down barriers of prejudice and cultivating a deeper understanding of the rich tapestry of human experience. Character-driven narratives are particularly central to cultivating empathy. By delving into the minds of fictional characters, readers can comprehend their motivations, fears, and desires. This intimate connection enables empathy, even when the character's experiences differ significantly from the reader's own. For instance, the character of Atticus Finch in Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird embodies morality and justice in a racially prejudiced setting. His unwavering commitment to these values allows readers to empathize with his struggles and grasp the importance of upholding what is right. The role-taking theory offers a psychological explanation for how literature fosters empathy, suggesting that the act of reading a narrative is an active cognitive and emotional exercise that trains the reader's theory of mind, the ability to understand others' mental states. This implies a direct causal link between engaging with narrative complexities and an increased capacity for real-world empathy and pro-social behavior. The power of a single work of literature is not just its ability to change one person's mind, but to change many people's minds in a similar way, creating a collective empathetic response. When millions of people read Uncle Tom's Cabin and feel a shared outrage at slavery's brutality, that collective empathy becomes a social force that provides the necessary psychological infrastructure for a movement to take hold. The Strategic Toolkit: Literary Devices for Reform. Authors strategically employ various literary devices as powerful rhetorical tools to convey complex ideas, critique society, and advocate for change. These are not merely stylistic choices, but strategic instruments for persuasion and subversion. Satire involves the use of humor, irony, sarcasm, or ridicule to criticize something or someone. It offers political and social commentary, making serious criticisms more palatable and encouraging reform through laughter and reflection. Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels subtly critiques 8th century English politics, while George Orwell's Animal Farm serves as a biting satire of the Russian Revolution and the rise of totalitarianism. Allegory is a literary work that conveys a hidden meaning, typically moral, spiritual, or political, through the use of symbolic characters and events. It often functions as a covert critique of actual events or people. George Orwell's Animal Farm is also a political allegory for the Russian Revolution, and Arthur Miller's The Crucible allegorizes McCarthyism. Symbolism is a literary device where a writer uses a physical object or phenomenon to represent something more abstract. Symbols can function as powerful metaphors that resonate with the readers and convey underlying messages related to social change and activism. In Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, for instance, symbolism is used to explore themes of identity and visibility. These literary devices are strategic tools that allow authors to bypass censorship and engage audiences indirectly. Satire makes critique more palatable, and allegory conveys hidden meaning, enabling literature to subvert dominant ideologies and influence public opinion subtly yet powerfully. By engaging readers intellectually and emotionally without immediate confrontation. The need for indirectness points to the power of the status quo and the potential for retribution against direct criticism. Authors use these devices not just for artistic effect, but as a form of self-preservation and a more effective way to reach an audience without triggering immediate backlash. This suggests that the presence of these devices in a given historical period can be a signal of a repressive or ideologically rigid environment. A society that requires its artists to speak in code is a society where art is most needed, and the more oppressive a system, the more vital the covert, subversive role of literature becomes. Literary reform, tangible impact. The transformative power of literature is not just theoretical, it has led to tangible and enduring legacies throughout history. The consistent presence of specific literary works directly leading to social change, policy reform, or widespread public awareness demonstrates that literature's reformative role has real-world consequences. Literature functions as a powerful historical agent, not just a reflection, and its legacy continues to shape contemporary discussions and movements. Abolitionist movement, Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, 852, stands as a prime example. Its vivid depiction of the brutality of slavery deeply appealed to readers' empathy, stirring widespread public outcry and significantly galvanizing the abolitionist movement. Workers' rights. Literature has consistently highlighted the plight of the working class. John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath vividly portrayed the struggles of migrant workers during the Great Depression. Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, 906, exposed the unsanitary and harsh conditions in the meatpacking industry, leading directly to significant reforms. Environmental activism. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, 962, brought critical attention to the detrimental effects of pesticide use, effectively launching the modern environmental movement and contributing to the banning of DDT. Civil rights movement. Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man and Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird sings powerfully illuminated African American experiences, inspiring participation in the fight for racial equality. The impact of these books did not end with the initial policy changes. The research notes that their legacy continues to shape contemporary discussions, meaning the legacy is not just the initial change, but the ongoing cultural dialogue the work sparked. Uncle Tom's Cabin created a narrative framework for understanding racial injustice that persists today. The Jungle's legacy is not just the Pure Food and Drug Act, but the enduring cultural memory of corporate malfeasance. The books themselves become cultural artifacts that can be re-engaged with by new generations, their themes finding renewed relevance in new contexts. This shows that literature's power is not a one-time event, but a continuous process, with its reformative potential reignited each time a new reader engages with its message. Conclusion. So, to summarize, literature is a powerful and changing part of human life. It's a record of our experiences, but it's also a strong force for change. From its ancient oral roots to its modern digital forms, literature has consistently adapted, showing how flexible it is and how it responds to cultural and technological shifts. Its core functions extend beyond just entertainment or information. It acts as a moral lab where we can engage in fictional thought experiments, which helps us develop empathy, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. As a mirror to society, it gives us a clear look at prevailing values and conflicts throughout history, making literary works important historical documents that help us understand past and present challenges. Crucially, literature is not a passive mirror, but an active agent of change. By using tools like satire, allegory, and symbolism, authors critique established norms, expose injustices, and amplify the voices of people who are often ignored. These techniques allow for powerful social commentary that can bypass direct confrontation, influencing public opinion and gathering support for reform. Famous books throughout history have shown us this power by fueling social movements, influencing laws, and changing public thinking on issues from slavery to civil rights. While literature's power to change things is deep and long-lasting, its full potential relies on continuous efforts to make sure it's accessible, inclusive, and that stories are told ethically. The ongoing evolution of literary forms and their spread through modern platforms indicate that literature will remain a vital tool for understanding and shaping the future of human civilization. Its ability to start conversations, build empathy, and challenge the way things are ensures it will continue to be a force for social progress. Thank you for your attention today. I hope this lecture has given you a new way to think about the books you read.